Hello, I am the bicycling guitarist. The Empress Fiona saga does not begin as a hero's journey. It begins as observation. Before myth, there were cats. Before symbolism, there were lived hierarchies. Daily negotiations of space, posture, elevation, proximity, retreat, tolerance, enforcement, and return. The saga did not invent these dynamics. It documented them. The myth emerges not as projection but as recognition. People may assume, oh, you made up a myth about your cats. No, I observed one. The court at the center of this saga is not metaphor first. It is a real configuration of living beings whose arrangement suggested something older than domestic life. Empress Fiona occupied height without aggression. Warrior Princess Lily held readiness without chaos. Royal advisor Witchy-Poo existed as continuity itself, predating visible arrangements and stabilizing them through presence. Little Cat, later, would embody survival without resolution. None of these roles were assigned. They were observed over time and named only after they had become unmistakable. This establishes the saga's architecture. The myth does not fabricate archetypes and impose them upon behavior. It witnesses archetypal pattern emerging from lived social order. What results is a post-heroic mythology grounded in governance rather than conquest. Traditional heroic frameworks, including those articulated by Joseph Campbell, describe departure, ordeal, transformation, and return. The Empress Fiona saga does not contest that structure. It simply does not require it. There is no call to adventure because the Empress is already in place. There is no quest for legitimacy because authority is established through comportment. There is no climactic boon because the court's function is maintenance rather than acquisition. This orientation places the saga nearer to Taoist sensibility than to epic conquest narrative. Wu Wei, action that does not force, appears not as doctrine but as arrangement. The Empress governs through presence rather than proclamation. Power withdraws when not needed. It is not dramatized. This restraint becomes the saga's governing ethic. Restraint, however, does not imply fragility. Warrior Princess Lily exists precisely because force may be required. The saga neither romanticizes violence nor denies its necessity. When deployed, force is decisive and brief. When unnecessary, it remains contained. Containment recurs structurally throughout the saga. Ships, boxes, platters, bags, courts, launchers. Each a boundary that permits intensity without chaos. The presence of Witchy-Poo from the before times introduces temporal depth without nostalgia. The before times are not a golden age, they are continuity. Memory stabilizes governance. Instruction replaces spectacle. Apprenticeship precedes visible authority. What later appears mythic is revealed to have been learned in small domestic acts. Little Cat's role complicates any movement towards sentimental closure. She is not healed into narrative resolution. She remains witness to what survival costs. Her presence prevents the court from becoming utopian fantasy. Fear is permitted to remain as knowledge. The saga does not smooth this. This refusal aligns with a broader philosophical current that values recognition over transcendence. The saga observes pattern without elevating it into cosmic drama. Its scale widens: ocean, space, distant planets, yet its center remains relational and grounded. The architecture unfolds in 2 volumes: Introductions and Adventures. Volume 1 establishes roles, vessels, tools, and courtly arrangement. It resists urgency. Volume 2 introduces events that test the established order without dismantling it. Even where conflict appears, the arc bends towards restoration of safety and withdrawal of force rather than celebration of victory. The saga's aesthetic reflects this ethic. Spectacle is minimal. Objects used in ritual or defense originate in ordinary domestic life. A metal platter inherited decades earlier. A paper sack used in play. Stuffed mouse toys that become mouserooms. The ordinary becomes mythic through context rather than transformation. Significance arises from placement and intention. A deeper autobiographical current runs beneath the saga. My decades of bicycle guitaring, continuity of one guitar, one bicycle, sustained through trauma and geography, form an embodied practice of containment in motion, presence under pressure, maintenance rather than replacement. These commitments inform the saga's refusal of spectacle and its emphasis on governance, aftermath, and sustained order. The Empress Fiona saga thus functions as documented myth. It observes social architecture and names it. It allows philosophical resonance without instruction. It acknowledges intensity without elevating it. It makes room for fear without curing it. It presents power as something that withdraws as readily as it acts. Across the saga, a different mythic question is posed. Not conquest, but sustenance. Not transformation, but structure. Ships hold. Courts hold. Boxes hold. Memory holds. Silence holds. The introduction must therefore resist inflation. The scale may extend to sea and space, yet the foundation remains a living room, a cat tree, a paper bag. Myth arises from attention rather than distance. What emerges is a portrait of authority without domination, force without spectacle, trauma without redemption, and continuity without nostalgia. It is not an epic of ascent. It is a chronicle of maintenance. The Empress Fiona saga stands as a counter-myth to conquest narratives. Maintenance is what we do.